Three, two, one. Ma'am, we are good to go now.
Hi, warm greetings to all on behalf of Win India. I'm Dr. Subhashri, Assistant Professor of Nephrology at Tuticorin Medical College Hospital. Joining with me tonight is Dr. Shreyashi Bose, Lecturer in Nephrology at King Edward Memorial Hospital, Mumbai. We welcome you all to another exciting session on social media in nephrology practice. And for that, we have a very apt, star-studded team of speakers, chair, and panel tonight to discuss on this very pertinent topic today in today's practice. And for the opening remarks, we have Dr. Maitri and Dr. Saili. Dr. Maitri is an assistant professor of nephrology at Institute of Nephrourology, Bengaluru, a very extremely active social media member and NSMC faculty, GlomCon mentor. With her, we also have Dr. Saili, who is an assistant professor of nephrology at King Edward Memorial Hospital, another bird of same feather who usually sets the stage on fire, usually during our online discussions. She is also currently a GlomCon mentor. May I request them both to add a few words on today's topic, please?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the warm introduction, Dr. Shubhashri. Social media has become a routine part of day-to-day life, but we forget one thing, that it was telegraph which started all of this. We have to give our due respects to the person who created or who invented telegraph. It was Samuel Morse. Apparently, Samuel Morse, when he was away, where he was interested in art and he was studying art in UK, and later on he came back to America, and he was at his workplace. He was away from his house, and his wife, when she was delivering her third child, she expired. And unfortunately, the message did not reach him on time. And when he came back home, it was already very late, and a few days had already passed since her funeral. He could not even attend his funeral. So he was basically a painter, but then this incident was the one which motivated him, or he took an oath after this that, I have to come up with something. I have to figure out a way to transmit messages instantly, at least messages of death and life. So this was the beginning of telegraph. And then we have the Morse code. That Morse code gave birth to the coding program, which is now used for all the computer programs, internet, and social networking. So the telegraph is considered as the grandfather of the internet. And this story also reminds all of us that there is a woman behind a man's success. And with this, I would like to pay tribute to Sir Samuel Morse and his invention, without which we would have had our internet and social media platforms today. So with this, I welcome all of you. Warm welcome to all of you for today's session.
Dr. Saili, please, can you add a few words? Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, am I audible? Yeah, thank you for the kind introduction. Great story, Maitri. Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Saili, and I welcome you all again to this activity by Win India tonight. I'm glad to be putting in some opening remarks on today's session. We are set out to explore the role of social media in nephrology, that is to say in science. And the three talks that are lined up tonight, the talks and discussions, will take us through this on an individual, societal, and scientific level at large. Social media in nephrology takes the form of digital scientific content in the print or in the audiovisual. It works through things as simple as elementary conversations between individuals, interested individuals, to something as sophisticated as structured interactive programs and courses in formal learning. And through these exhaustive platforms and ventures of FOMED, free accessible medical education, it has become an increasingly fulfilling alternative to traditional learning experience. Social media has engaged the nephrology community for more than a decade. So while our Western counterparts have been at this since longer than us, and they have inspired beginnings and legacies to bank upon, we from India have joined in, and we have put in our significant contributions over the last few years. So this is to say, while we have great beginnings, we have a lot more things to do, and we have a lot more to build upon with respect to authenticity, with respect to scientific interest, and with respect to participation from everyone. So for me, while it began as something to do with my free time, I've come to love this as a part, being a part of the social media community for the last year. And I hope everyone who hears this talk today gets inspired and joins in. So welcome aboard. Let's hear it from the best. Over to
Thank you, Dr. Maitri and Dr. Saili. Without further ado, let's move on to the first topic for today's session on becoming a tech savvy in social media. And to chair this session, we have Dr. Manisha Sahai, who is a role model to a lot of young female nephrologists. She's a professor head of nephrology at Osmania Medical College, Osmania General Hospital, Hyderabad. She is our vice president of WIN India. And we also have Dr. Manjusha, who is Professor Head of Nephrology at Gandhi Medical College, Gandhi Medical Hospital at Hyderabad. She is our Secretary of WIN India. She hosts a lot of ISN Academy webinars, everyday cases in nephrology, and hosts a lot of Twitter spaces discussing relevant nephrology topics from time to time. Joining them both, we have Dr. Garima Agarwal, who is a consultant nephrologist at Manipal Hospital, Bengaluru. She is a prominent member of our social media team of ISN India. I now request the chair to introduce our first speaker for today.
So thank you for the kind introduction and excellent initiative from WIN India about social media. I feel it's the need of the hour. In fact, I was late to join the bandwagon, and it was Divya who prompted me to at least become a member of Twitter, and thanks to her, I joined Twitter, though I'm not a very prolific person on Twitter, but again, I'm learning from it. I appreciate social media. And I really find it helpful in day-to-day practice. So I would call Divya the queen of social media, though not to upset anybody else on this platform. You people are dynamic, excellent, and we also learn a lot from you. So Divya is a board member of South Asian Regional Board, which is a subgroup of the International Society of Nephrology. She is ISN education team member. She is executive faculty NSMC program. She is co-lead NephJC Asia, visual abstract editor and reviewer for ZJASN, AJN, KI reports. She is creator at ISN Education monthly quizzes. She has received several awards. If I keep on reading all her achievements, it would be a lecture in itself. So CJASN, NephJC Award. Then she has MUHS Staff Society Award, Torrent Young Scholar Award, BN Kurdeshi Award, ISOT Best Paper Award, so on and so forth. She has around 40 publications to her credit, and she is interested in obstetric nephrology, lupus nephritis, transplant, and TMA. She currently holds a post of Associate Professor of Nephrology in KM Hospital. She is at Mumbai, and she is also a gold medalist in nephrology. So over to you, Divya. And I think you will set the stage on fire. And you are a correct person to lead the social media program. And I'm very excited to hear you and the other speakers as well. And I'm thankful for the star-studded audience we have. We have Dr. Sunil Shroff. We have Dr. Muthu Jayaraman. We have Dr. Urmila Anand with us. We have a host of other members. Mrs. Vasundhara is there. And you have people who I keep on seeing on social media, though I have not interacted with many of them, but it's really exciting to have all of you here. Over to you, Dr. Divya, for your talk.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Manisha ma'am. You told that I inspired you to join Twitter, but I'll tell you that Twitter is a better place since you have joined in, because you are an inspiration and a role model for all of us. And a big thank you also to Manjusha ma'am, who actually gave the idea of this webinar. She was the mastermind behind this. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much. I'll share my screen if this is visible. So is my screen visible? It should be in the presentation mode now.
Yeah, slideshow.
Yeah. So in next maybe 20 or 25 minutes, what I'll take you through is like a practical step-by-step guide to become a social media savvy nephrologist. My idea of putting behind this talk was it was actually to target newbies who are little maybe intimidated or scared, or they have doubts in their mind that what it is about, how much time it will take, and whether it is useful or not. So it's mainly targeting them, but I hope others can also gain something through it, and we'll definitely have some discussion after the talk. So in next 25 minutes, my intention is to cover why we should become social media savvy, what is the need of it, what are the different platforms which are available today in 2022, and what is the step-by-step action plan to finally get to being a social media savvy nephrologist in India and abroad, and also what are some cautions which are very important, which we should not be forgetting while using social media, especially being a medical healthcare professional. So a very simple answer to why social media is that it is the key to professional growth in this year 2022. As you will understand, is that social media is now no longer only limited to personal chit chatting or sharing personal experiences, but it is very closely knit to professional growth also. So as you will also appreciate that this is data from 2021, where you will see that approximately 4.1 billion people have used social media or internet in that year, which accounts to almost 53.6%, almost half of the world's population. And India is definitely not behind. We are actually leading users of internet. Maybe it is because of free internet available, or maybe we are more social people than others, but Indians do lead in internet use with 680 million users in India only. So social media is here to stay. People are using it, and why you should be using it as a person, to that I would like to put it in this way, is that social media helps you in your internal growth. And when I say internal growth, what I mean is that it makes you a better professional, maybe even a better person. You can teach and learn with this tool. You can develop new skills, which was very, very difficult a few decades back to develop sitting at the comfort of your home. You can have, there are various courses available where you can have new skills which can be developed. And the most important part of social media, which is different from traditional media, is that you can refine yourself by instant feedback. The reach and the feedback both are instant, so you can refine yourself very easily and instantaneously. And not to say, when there's internal growth, it definitely leads to external growth. It opens new avenues of networking, it takes you to beyond the boundaries of geography, beyond the boundaries of your physical world. You can actually, even the world is the limit when you are on social media. So a very simple answer to why you should become a social media savvy nephrologist is that it helps you in your internal and external growth. So coming to various types of platforms of social media which are available. So many people just feel that it is only YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, but that is not it. There is one type of social media platform available for every need. As you will see here, there are platforms which will help you in collaboration. There are video sharing platforms, microblogging sites, blogging sites. There are even social review sites and discussion sites. So you should be aware of most of these platforms, and you should know when to use which we'll also be discussing further in the talk. That was a general thing of what social media is available across the board. But when we talk about online resources in nephrology, for the sake of understanding, I have divided into these 4 major categories. Please note that this is not a watertight classification. There are definitely some overlaps, but only for the sake of better understanding and remembering them, I have made these categories. So first, when we talk of online resources in nephrology, first are the monologues, which are mostly didactic. There is some discussion, but the discussion is limited. So these are blogs, websites, videos, tutorials, and webinars, the one which we are having right now. Then there are very, very effective very, very effective channels which have dialogues. They are no longer didactic, where everyone can share equal voice. There is no hierarchy. These are mostly tweet chats or discussion forums. Discussion forums can be online on various platforms like WhatsApp groups, or like I have given this example of ASN communities. So everyone can share their own experiences and their voices on discussion forums and have dialogues. Then we come to some very interesting feature of social media, which are self-evaluation platforms. Like we have come up with these ISN quizzes. I'm sure some of you must be aware of these. These are monthly quizzes where you can just test your knowledge. You can be anonymous. You can also share your results with everyone. So these are a short things where you can just devote some 10 minutes and have a self-evaluation of a topic. NEFSAP is another very interesting thing. It's a paid thing, but it's from American Society of Nephrology, where they do give you a little bit of teaching and training in initially, and then you can evaluate yourself on social media. And then comes the most important and the most useful resource which social media offers in 2022, which are the structured mentorship programs. And the example I have quoted here are few, but there are many others also available. These are the most important ones when we are talking about nephrology, like NSMC, GLOMCON, and NEFSIM. The beauty of these mentorship program is that they are time-bound, structured programs which are dedicated to make you into a better social media, a personnel, a better physician. And also the connectivity, the networking happens across the board, across the global platform. So these are the four resources when you're looking out in nephrology available in social media. Now coming to a step-by-step guide, how to become social media savvy. So first step I would say is to choose your platform. How you choose it, you should choose something which suits you best and your audience best. So what I like this infographic, which is also because I like tacos. But apart from that, it shows the type of platform you use also shows what kind of a person you are. You will be most comfortable in using a platform which aligns with your personality. Like for example, someone who has a taco in his hand might like to say that they like taco. If they only restrict to that, they are the Facebook kind of a person. People who are more into formal platforms might like to put it on LinkedIn saying that my skills include taco eating. People who are pictorial people or graphic people who are interested in photography might like to take a photograph and put it on Instagram. People who are more of skill or a video based kinesthetic people, they might go to YouTube to create a video of themselves eating taco. So this is how each social media platform is differently tailored to suit each one's need. And this is very important to remember, because you might start with lots of programs, but it's better if you tailor those and master those one by one, so which is aligning your personality and the need of your audience. So that was a general thing. When we talk only about nephrology, we all know that there are these four kinds of learning. First is the visual learning. So if you are a visual learner, in nephrology, you would appreciate the use of video-based learning platforms. There are lots and lots of them available now. I am specifically a big fan of these chalk and talk style videos, which are there on Vimeo and YouTube. Also, there are lots of infographics, visual abstracts, which we are creating as a part of social media content creation. So these are very appealing to learners who are visual based. Then we have auditory learners, people who learn better by hearing things. So for them, we definitely have podcasts, but that's not it. We have journals which have also now come up with their own podcast. One of this very important is, I would say, NEJM and CJASN. They have really good podcast programs. Also, I would like to bring your attention to NEFJC Freely Filtered, which is also a very good program. Similarly, there's Book Button, which is a very nice program. So if you're that kind of a person, this is something which you should be looking forward to. Also, when choosing the platform, you should consider what your audience is comfortable with. So it is better to give them a mix of some of each of these, so that it can target each and every audience. Then there are people who like to write and read. For them, there are blogs, there are journals, obviously, and there are tutorials on Twitter. And then finally, the most interesting one, the kinesthetic or interactive learning platforms. Like we have quizzes, we have NephSim, NephMadness, which is actually a gamification of nephrology. So there are people who might find blogs and videos and podcasts boring. So then they are the ones who would really enjoy these gamification kind of platform, where where the teaching and learning happens via interactions. So this is a short overview of how you should tailor your own platform. What I would like to say more importantly at this point of time is that it is very important to create a balance. Don't be, when you start specifically in the early years, don't be like a magnet where you would like to post on each and every platform together. Like, for example, I am not on Facebook, I am there on Insta, Twitter, and a little bit of blogs. So it is better to go like this, build like it like a pyramid. First, have a very stable foundation. Use the platform which you are most comfortable with. Build your niche audience, and then from one to another, you can go on mastering, and then sky is the limit. Second very important step is to select your audience. So it is very important to have at the back of the mind which audience you are targeting your post to. For example, if I am targeting to a group of nephrologists versus a group of medical students vis-a-vis a patient group, my content should be tailored accordingly. It is also important because if it is not done in this way, the content can also be misunderstood or misused sometimes. So always, whenever you're creating some content, tailor according to your target audience. And this is also very important here, is that we should keep your professional and personal accounts separate. This is I cannot stress this enough, because there have been cases, not in our country, but in abroad, that people have actually lost their jobs because whatever they were posting, their content was not in alignment with their with the sentiments of their professional body, of their employer. So this is extremely important thing. If, for example, I start a Twitter handle of KEM Nephrology, I will remember that I keep it separate from my personal account. Like I have a handle of ISOT. So what I post in ISOT handle is definitely very different from what I post in my personal handle. So always keep your personal and professional accounts separate and learn to draw a line there. The third will be to build your own brand. Brand is important because it openly distinguishes you from others. It creates an emotional content amongst your audience, and it builds trust. For example, whenever you see this label, even my 2-year-old daughter, when she sees this is what she thinks. So this is something instantaneously. It's at a spinal level. So this is how your brand should be built. So for example, this is our blog, which we write it actually under the able mentorship of Dr. Tukaram and Dr. Keskar. So whenever you see that logo, you should be thinking of these things, like a eloquently written blog post and a visual graphic to support it. So building a brand is important because then people understand, it gives a predictability, and people understand what you are going to say them next. It is also a personal reflection. Your brand should speak of what kind of a person you are. And in that reflection, you should always try to be professional and considerate. When you are sharing content produced by others, that also is actually a part of your brand building. So if I have some kind of a view, I should restrain from sharing content which is very, very different from that point of view. So building a brand is not only by your content, but it also is by the content which you're supporting, which should be always remembered at all time points. Fourth, and the very, very important step, is to follow and learn. We should be very clear in social media whom to follow and whom to not follow. Actually, whom to not follow is a more important thing in today's world. So we should be following key opinion leaders. Like, for example, if you're someone who's interested a lot in learning about calciphylaxis, so there are a few leaders like Dr. Sagar Nigwekar, who's very much into calciphylaxis. So that's just to give an example. So you should know whom to follow. You should follow people with your similar professional interest. It will help you in learning also and networking also. And this is only a way to learn and share new information. While talking of learning, I would like to give some examples of how you should making learning easy on social media while creating a content, and how obviously when you are the receiver, social media makes learning easy for you. So for example, this is a beautiful ECNF is we all know Dr. Yadla has been taking it forward. It's a very nice discussion forum where we discuss some cases, and then the complete pathophysiology is also discussed in a very easy and digestible manner. Another example to give, if I show you this text abstracts, you might find little difficult and also require some time. However, if I show you this visual abstract, it is very, very easy to digest, and maybe in less than a minute, you would know what is the gist of the study. So when you're creating a content or you are using a content, always look for easily digestible contents. Always look for things which are visually appealing to the audience. Also, always remember that this visual things are not to replace the text completely. This should only lead you to the text, and it should inspire you to read the full text. It is not a replacement. While talking about learning, I would like to give an example of how the social media platforms flattens the hierarchy. These all, I know all, many of them I have even not met actually physically, but I have interacted with all of these on various time points. So make a use of this. Use this flattening of hierarchy to your advantage. Try to reach out to the global leaders in your field, and you will have the answers at your fingertips. Talking about answers, when you are looking for a specific question, having a focused academic search using social media on Facebook, on Twitter, and on other platforms is very, very helpful. You can use these focused research tools, which are these hashtags, and you will get the answers in a jiffy. For example, if we have if you want to ask some question to specifically to nephrologists, you can use this very nice hashtag known as Ask Renal. It has a very good reach. It actually has a Ask Renal community also, to which it is immediately posted. Also, when you are talking about learning, sometimes the learning happens with opinions. You want to know what is the opinion of others. For that, you can do polls, you can ask online for advice, and this will improve your perspective about things. In nephrology, it's not always black and white. There are lots of shades of gray, and it's always interesting to know what others are feeling, and polls are the best way to know that. While doing research and survey, social media can help you. You can directly post your surveys on social media, or you can send a call for research participants to become a part of your survey. Talking about research, also it is a very good networking tool, and I would admit that since the time I have started using social media, I have at least 4 to 5 publications with people, co-authors whom I have never met in real life, and this was completely not possible without effective use of social media. So social media definitely increases your reach, increases your network, and helps you in your research activities also. Talking about closed communities, it is very important because there are sometimes we being clinicians, we have some sensitive information which is not very safe to be discussed in a very open community where various stakeholders are there available, and it is available freely to everyone. So like, for example, I would like to give this example of these 2 WhatsApp groups which I am part of. I'm sure lots of you will also be a part of this. They discuss very significantly important issues in day-to-day practice in nephrology, and I cannot speak much about ASN communities because it's one of the best thing available out there if you want to discuss some patient-related issues in a very safe and closed environment. So make use of this closed environment to garner them to your advantage when you are pushed at a corner and you really want to understand what you should do in a clinical scenario. Coming to our step 5, which is create original content. Once you have learned from contents created from others, you should be ready to create your own content, which is the most exciting part of social media. Always post very relevant and engaging content. When you are posting any media like photos, algorithms, videos, make sure that it has to be crisp and clear. It has to be high quality. Otherwise, your audience will get disappointed and they might not come back to you again. Always and always cite original resources. People have burned their fingers by posting things which were not their own, and so whatever you on social media is available for eternity. So sometimes someone will pick you and will might point it that it is not your original thing. So always cite original resources, give attribution where it is due, use hashtags very appropriately, and protect patients' confidentiality, which we'll come to in a minute. So this is an example of one of the things which it is only to cite an example, not to criticize, but this was one of the photo which was tweeted about the conference, which could have been better tweeted in this way. So whenever you are tweeting stuff from someone else, you should always write about what it is, who has done it, where it has done it, and also you can give a little bit of flavor of your opinion or your view on that. So this is one way where you can increase your reach from social media. Now, don't be like this person. This is a very famous urologist. I don't know if some of you might be following him. I was following him for some time till he posted this. So he did a scopy and he found lots and lots of stones. He has very nicely he has covered up the patient identity, but this is not in good taste for two reasons. One is that it's not good for any patient or any caregiver who have ever cared for anyone with stone disease. And also, if there is a timeline, if for example he has done this procedure in this week and he posts this on a weekend, then the patient who's there can also identify himself or herself even when the name is not there. So avoid posting stuff like this. Don't be like this person. And then within no time you can see that it can be there are lots of people who are using this. These were the replies which were there. They're using it as a mode of entertainment, which is not actually in good taste. Specifically when the patient community or the caregiver community sees this, this is not in good taste, and this is something we should always be avoiding. Always protect patient identity, even when you are sharing in a closed circuit like WhatsApp, when you are sharing in a WhatsApp group, because you never know. Like I said, it remains there for eternity and it can go out in what way you are not aware. So always protect patient identity whenever you're sharing in any of the social media platforms. Coming to networking, which is the most important part while helping in your external growth, always to develop your good network, be as active online as possible, take part in online chats, engage online on a consistent basis. And also, this is an opportunity which you should take to learn and share new opportunities with others, with your peers. I would like to give this example of a nice community we have at ISN and also at NSMC, which is a very inclusive and a very good community to be in, and everyone should be joining NSMC and these communities. Last but not the least, it is scholarship. You can use social media to your advantage by creating a social media scholarship portfolio. You can quantify and describe whatever content you have created, and then you can present it after critically appraising it and publish it also. This is an example of a paper which we had written under the able guidance of Urmila madam, where we have looked at what all responses we have got on social media during the coverage of WC in 2019. This was very well received and it was published in KI reports. While you are creating content on social media, you can also do some back end calculations, and you can understand what are the leads, what are the traffic, and what are the responses your content is getting. Like this is from a blog post. Whenever you own a WordPress blog segment, you always get some activity markers where you can, for example, you can just type here which blog you want to look at, and it will give you the complete traffic which has happened. It will tell you the number of people who visited for the first time, people who have directly come to your blog, people who have come to your blog from somewhere else, people who have seen and immediately exited. It tells you that also. This is very important because it will help, it will give you a feedback, it will refine your content, and it can also serve as some sort of a metric which you can later analyze and publish. For example, when we create ISN quizzes, I come to know, like for example, 400 people have taken the quiz. I come to know exactly how much time each of them have put on which question what they have answered correctly, what they have answered wrong. So I know how to make my quizzes better the next time. And also, obviously, the data is ready to get published now. This is the bottom line of everything. Always too much of anything is bad. Always and always restrain balance and limit the use of social media to certain times of day. Take breaks at equal time intervals from social media. It is recommended. It was actually a study done on by a mental health group, and it was recommended. This was their recommendation: is that you should take at least 1 weekend complete time out from social media every month for for remaining sane. And the basic logic is that we should not, this is, at the end of the day, it is all a virtual world, and to connect in virtual world, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You should actually connect with yourself first, with your family, and then you can go ahead and connecting with others. So take a break, if not possible like this, maybe sometime every day, but time out is very important while using social media. Avoid posting when emotionally charged. This is something which we all should practice. It is easier said than done. We should all avoid being a troll. A troll is someone who intentionally tries to instigate conflict or arguments online. Do not be one. I'm sure none of them will be a troll anytime. But even if you're getting trolled, understand, realize that you are getting told, immediately either delete, or there are various steps of blocking someone. You can either just unfollow, you can mute, or you can completely block someone. So realize when you are being trolled and move away from it as fast as possible. Do not post any identifiable patient information. This is just a recap to just tell you in a nutshell what you should not be doing on social media. Avoid posting any doubtful or misleading information. If you are not sure, tell you are not sure. Don't put it as evidence. Avoid any inflammatory language, and definitely avoid trolls. This is something which I find very, very useful, and I actually use it in my day-to-day posting. I ask these 5 questions before posting anything. Is it true? Is it honest? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? This is also very important. Sometimes we just keep on posting things which might not be necessary, and it is kind. If answer to any of these questions is no, then you should probably not post that. You're better without posting that stuff on social media. Do have separate professional personal accounts. Actively counter false information whenever you see information, like for example, we'll be discussing in talks later about patients. You will see lots of misinformation being spreading on social media. To actively, you should counter them, and if possible, do get trained in appropriate use of social media by utilizing those structured mentorship program which we have discussed. This is the last thing I would like to tell, that at the end of the day, this is a virtual world, and it should not be a be all and do all of your life. Always remember, this is one of my close patient, Dr. Vasundhara madam will recognize him. Your patients and your family, and that's actually my daughter. So your patients and your family and the work you're doing in a real life should be the real focus. Social media can be a very nice supportive tool, additive tool. It should not be the end of your life. It should not be the only thing which you are doing. So always keep the focus on things which matter most. This is just to summarize the 8 steps which we have already seen. So to end, social media is just a tool. How you use it is up to you. For example, if you have a hammer, you can create something very beautiful by putting a nail in the correct place, or you can just hurt yourself by putting it on your finger, or you can, or all the more worse, you can harm someone else. This is exactly how social media can be used to benefit yourself, to harm yourself, or to harm others. Thank you so much for your patient listening. I hope to see all of you doing very well on social media. Thank you.
Thank you, Divya. That was an excellent talk. In fact, very inspiring. I'm sure a lot of the young nephrologists who have joined the session would have got inspired, but at the same time, as to how to balance the social media usage is of crucial importance to us. But at the outset, Divya, I would like to ask you, because one of the most common platforms that is used in social media is YouTube. The Twitter is like, I mean, some 3rd or 4th from the bottom. But from the medical community, I think as far as at least the focus, the groups are concerned, we use Twitter more often. So how do you think a beginner should be able to use social media in a more appropriate way. Okay, do's and don'ts are there, which is more appropriate for them, and it should be equally educative to them. At the same time, no nonsense. I mean, this is extremely important. When you're on social media, you should think twice or thrice before you do any post or before you upload any video. All these things are very important. So for a naive, because many of the young nephrologists, few of them are active on various media, FB and all this, but many of them, I'm sure many of them are not active. But social media definitely is a good learning tool for every one of us. In fact, I can share my personal experience, as you have mentioned me. Thanks for mentioning me. There's lots of learning. In fact, I've just started being active on social media only from the 2021 March. But there is an intense and impressive learning that I can vouch on social media. Of course, you need to have the background knowledge before taking up that points and all these things. So my question to you is, how should a beginner go with the social media learning platform in a more sustainable one? That's important, because getting out in the middle because of some of the issues should not be the one which should come in their path. So sustainable use of a social media is one crucial one for a healthy society. Over to you, Divya.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for actually that comment. I completely agree with your sentiment that someone who starts new can get lost. It is like it can actually become overwhelming. It was overwhelming for me when I began. So my suggestion would be is to start slow. Choose one platform, for example, or one or two. Maybe you can choose Twitter and YouTube, because most of the nephrology education is now happening there in 2022. So initially try to limit your use. First of all, when you're using it for the first time, it can be that you can even get addicted to it. They have a known addictive potential. So limit your use for some hours in a day. Plan it so that at least 70% of your time initially is learning and 30% is in content creation or education, educating others. So plan it in a way is so that it's initially linked more to your internal growth. And then once you are little bit pro in using, doing the basic stuff, then you can move more towards content creation. Also very important to know what not to do, whom not to follow. If you feel that someone is more of a wasting your time or not relevant to your needs, your professional growth, then immediately don't hesitate to block or mute that person. Muting is better. I try muting more because blocking is sounds little harsh. So don't hesitate to do that. You are not obliged to follow anyone here. You are here only because it makes you happy, it makes you contented. You are not in a race. Most important thing, it's not a race for having many number of followers, many likes or retweets. It's not that. It's very important to understand it is to supplement whatever life you are living in the real world. So that would be my advice, ma'am.
Yeah, another question, Divya. Like, I mean, off late, so many fellowships are there which have come up on the social media. In fact, that's become, I can say, can I use the word craze or something? So it's become like very passionate among the young nephrologists. So many of them have joined all this fellowship, starting from GlomCon and NSMC and all these things. Can you just enlighten on these fellowships, which definitely would be useful in a longer way? I mean, in the sense, whether it is networking, whether it is the scientific content, or whether it is their CV improvement, whatever it is, I think there is a multifaceted improvement once they join. Can you just enlighten on those fellowships which are available?
Again, very important point, ma'am. This is something which newbies or young nephrologists or younger generation professionals should look forward to and definitely join. Like you took the name of GlomCon, NSMC, there is NEFSIM also for medical students. So what it actually gives you is that it gives you a platform in a very safe, secure manner. It trains you bit by bit, pieces by pieces. For example, in NSMC, we have various rotations. In one rotation, you learn how to do tutorials. Then in one rotation, you learn how to do NefJC charts. Then you learn how to make visual infographics or visual abstracts. So it's like a hand holding. Someone is there to hold your hand and take you through the journey of becoming a social media pro person and also becoming a better nephrologist in the process. Definitely adds up to your CV, it opens a lot more world of opportunities. Like Dr. Sylvie is here. I have written some papers with Dr. Sylvie only because I know her from, she was my NSMC mentor, and I got to know that how beautiful person she is, and she shares my interest of obstetric nephrology. So that's just to give an example of how if I would not have joined NSMC, I would not have met Dr. Sylvie ever. And for someone like me, it was youngsters don't get invited too much to write in mainstream journals or mainstream editorials anyways. So no, so this is how you can actually increase your reach. You can build a CV, you know, and more importantly also it tells you what not to do. It creates a ethical code of conduct while using social media when you are in a structured mentorship program. So structured mentorship program are a definite yes. Even NSMC is still free, GlomCon is now paid, but I would say it is still worth it if you have the time. And one more thing, while using this structured mentorship program, you should do it when you really have time. For example, if you are planning your family, or if you're going through a change of jobs, or you are doing something very intense in your professional side, then give that year a break. Find a good time to join these mentorship, because they are time bound. If you lose that opportunity, then you might not be able to do it again. So find a good time, join these mentorship programs, and take full benefit of them.
Yeah, Divya, one last question from my side before I hand over to Garima. Thanks for that response. Can you just enlighten us on the International Society of Nephrology in relevance to the SOMI?
Yes, ma'am. I just, for the want of time, I could just put one ISN community thing. I have not put other things, but ISN has a whole big list of things which are very useful in learning and educating. There is ISN Academy. There is ongoing tutorials which ISN team creates. There are chats. ECNF is a part of it. Also, WCN, people who are a part of WCN social media team get a hands-on experience of using social media tools for increasing the conference reach. Also, ISN has some very beautiful programs, like I'm part of Emerging Leader program. People can apply for that. Or there is mentorship, mentee-mentor program. There is sister concern programs. There are lots of programs for youngsters. They are specifically targeted at youngsters. And one good thing about ISN is that it's very inclusive. It is very inclusive to people who are from lower middle income countries. There are lots of fees waivers available for people from Nepal, from India, from our countries which are low resource countries. So everyone should go to the site of ISN Academy and check out these resources, ma'am. Very useful.
Thanks, Divya. Over to Garima. Thanks, Divya. Lot of answers.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, Divya. As usual, such a great presentation. I'm going to take some more time because we have to move on to the next presentation. Just one question, which I want to personally ask you. Like, how do you manage everything? Because, you know, at the stage of our career where we are at, you know, you and I, like, it's really busy at work, you know. And sometimes, like, the social media overwhelms me. And then I wonder, how do you manage your daughter, the work? And I know your OPD is crazy. And plus social media, like, do you time yourself? Like, this is really a personal question for me. Like, how do you do it?
Garima, I would say this is the most important question. I am also struggling to find the answer, but what I have found useful is that don't try to be everywhere, do everything. Triage, like we triage other things in our medical practice. Pick up things which are really important to you, and pick up things which you enjoy the most. Like I enjoy creating visual graphics, maybe videos or visual abstracts. So things which you enjoy, you will do in a jiffy with minimum time. If I'm told to maybe do podcast, I might not be very good at it, so I don't do podcast. It's like that. So choose things which you enjoy. You will take less time in that. Always take the time out for other more important things, and limit the use of social media. Like I said, I do not use it on Sundays. It's completely like zero. My phone is completely switched off, apart from the hospital calls on Sundays. So a very important point to balance your life. Remember, don't have FOMO. Initially, I used to have lots of FOMO, a fear of missing out if I'm missing some ECNF or some FJC. But then at the end of it, I realized that it's not a race. I'm only here for my personal sake. It's okay if I miss some things. I can always attend other things.
Right. Thank you for that. So I'll move over to the host for the next presentation now.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Divya, for an erudite talk. And I'm sure there's going to be a surge of new accounts in different social media platforms tonight. And for the next topic on using social media for patient care, we have Dr. Kritika. And to chair this session, it's my privilege to introduce Dr. Muthu Jayaraman, Madam, teacher of our teachers, former professor, head of nephrology at Stanley Medical College Hospital, patron Win India. She is currently a senior consultant nephrologist based at Chennai. And we also have with us Mrs. Vasundhara Raghavan, who is a founder member of Kidney Warrior Foundation. She's a very strong advocate of the welfare of kidney patients and also a very active social media member. Joining them both, we have Dr. Preeti Meena, who is an assistant professor of nephrology from AIIMS, Bhubaneswar. She is a prominent member of the social media team of Win India and International Society of Nephrology, probably one of the owners of must follow Twitter handles. Over to the chair to introduce our speaker for the second topic.
Preeti, can you just introduce Dr. Kritika? Preeti?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the invitation as a panelist. I would like to invite Dr. Kritika to present role of social media in patient education. Please, Dr. Kritika, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Preeti. First of all, I'd like to thank Win India for giving me the opportunity to talk today. And secondly, I want to congratulate Divya on that excellent talk. She was my mentor when I first joined social media in 2019. So she's been a guide to me since then. So my talk is pretty simple. I'll be talking about the role of social media in patient education. So what is patient education? The global prevalence of CKD is about 10%, affecting over 850 million people worldwide. Due to this high burden and disparities in care, it brings burden to persons affected, caregivers, family, and community. So this brings us to the term health literacy. This is the degree to which persons have or equitably enable individuals to have the ability to find, understand, and use information and services to make an informed health-related decision and action. This is basically an interaction between healthcare workers, policymakers, and those with kidney disease. So the access to internet technology provides opportunities to improve awareness and patient education. So what is social media? They're basically internet tools that allow individuals in community to gather, to communicate, and to share information. So a survey done in 2015 in the USA showed that 62% of the adults in the US use social media. So it helps to create a forum for patient participation that extends beyond the reach of the hospital or the local clinic, and it is accessible, inexpensive, and easy to use. So social media is divided into two categories. One is the online social networks, such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So it helps physicians and healthcare organizations to communicate with patients. It also helps educate and in decision-making, to share opinions and experiences amongst patients. Virtual healthcare communities are those platforms such as Ask a Doctor and Quora. They're basically platforms which allow online interactions around specific healthcare topics. They have discussion boards and forums where patients can initiate threads, conversations, post comments, and their thoughts. So the commonly used platforms are Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, WhatsApp, podcasts, blog posts, and TikTok, although TikTok is banned in India. So why social media for patients? So social media helps patients gain knowledge on their diseases, express their thoughts and feelings, share their experience about the disease and its treatment. It helps finding answers. It helps patients to communicate with doctors and healthcare workers, and it helps them check their progress and goals. But most importantly, it helps patients tell their stories, exchange ideas and feelings, so that they themselves create a real community. So social media usage. So studies have found that different age groups and income groups, different genders use social media differently. Koda et al. Found that women use social media to look for information relating to symptoms, treatments, medication, whereas men look out for supplements, healthcare providers, and physicians. Social media content, it is created by a network of educators who explain concepts, who answer questions, and they create lasting content in variety of formats. Others serve as curators, that is, they organize the content and they direct people to the right answers. In a systematic review, it was found that social media was was found to be associated with improved knowledge, attitudes, and skills. It also promoted collaboration, feedback, and professional development. So the first social media platform that I'm talking about is Twitter. Twitter is a microblogging digital platform. You can post text content less than 280 characters. You can use text and multimedia to deliver information. You can post information in the form of tweets, tutorials, chats, and spaces discussion. It is a two-way communication and it happens in real time. So these are the components of a tweet. So this is an example of a tweet. You can see the name and the handle of the person that's posted it. So hashtags are used to categorize the tweets into a particular category so that they can be accessed whenever you use this particular hashtag. So there is a link of the journal, which is a primary source of the tweet. You can also use polls to see the response of the audience or opinions of the audience. There are various functions such as reply to the tweet. You can retweet it. You can also favorite it to look at for later. And you can look at the analytics of the tweet to see how many people have viewed the tweet. So Twitter in education. So these are some examples where tweets have been used to educate patients. So this is a particular paper, which was an experience and outcome of COVID-19 in kidney transplant patients. So patients who have undergone kidney transplant may be curious as to what the results were or what are the risk factors of this COVID in transplant. So this is a tweet. So imagine a patient having persistent hyperphosphatemia, and he comes across this tweet. So this educates him that there are common tablets which he may be using that may be contributing to it. And also tweets can be used to promote content, promote journals, promote books such as this. Tweetorials. Tweetorial is a short series of group multimedia tweets. It is centered around a particular topic or to demonstrate a point. It bypasses the Twitter's character limit. It is an active way of learning and reviewing concept, which is superior to passive reading. So this is an example of a tweetorial. So this, I made this tutorial on a patient who had hypokalemia. So this tutorial talks about how I approach the patient, about the investigations, about how to diagnose this particular patient and how to treat this patient. So you can see there's a number of tweets which talk about what the patient had and how you diagnose. There's a particular algorithm. So this is an example of a tweetorial. So tweets can also be used for patient advocacy. So there are many foundations which advocate for patients, such as the Kidney Warrior Foundation, ASN Advocacy, NKF Advocacy, American Association of Kidney Patients, and the ISN. So these are certain examples. For example, this tweet by the Kidney Warriors, this put across a message to the government of Tamil Nadu saying that patients were denied dialysis in the government scheme. This other tweet is a tweet which is a tweetorial on outcomes, advocacy, and policy in dialysis for undocumented immigrants in the US. So Twitter can be used as a medium for patient advocacy. So the various support groups on Twitter for patients, such as the chronic kidney disease support group, kidney disease failure group, groups for diet and recipes. So these Twitter can be used to share patient experiences. So this is a certain patient who was on dialysis for 24 years and is an advocate for nocturnal home dialysis. Another patient saying that he was on multi-drugs during transplant and how he managed to adhere to the medications. So all these empower other patients who look at the tweets. And this is another tweet who she's just sharing her thoughts about what it is to have a kidney problem and is on the wait list. The second form is blogs. Blogs are long-form web pages in which the content is displayed in a reverse chronological sequence. They're also sources of archive since they are permanent. You can create any type of content from education by healthcare to sharing patient experiences. Viewers can comment, and this is a one-way communication. So these are the common blogs and websites pertaining to nephrology. And when you look at the ones that are patient-oriented, you can look at the Slow It Down CKD, dialysis from the sharp end of the needle, home dialysis central, demystifying kidney disease for the average Joe. So all these are aimed to educate patients. So another example of a blog for education is the Renal Fellow Network. So Renal Fellow Network is a group of nephrologists, basically fellows, who post content and which is reviewed by nephrologists through the world. So this is a blog which shares patient experiences. So this particular patient shares his commentary on skin cancer after transplant. There's also a patient perspective on the risk to kidney donors. So all such bring out the patient voice and they help empower patients. So this is a particular patient perspective. So a patient who has ADPKD and who's an advocate for progress and innovation in nephrology talks about what he thinks about the artificial kidney. YouTube has both video and audio content. This can be seen at convenience, but this is a one-way communication. It can be used to explain complex topics with audio, visuals, and animation. So a study done reported that patients found YouTube to be easier to describe their experiences and impressions relating to their diseases. So YouTube does not require any sort of literacy because there is nothing to read. Most of them are explained by videos and animation. It also helps reach ethnic population. So these are some of the YouTube videos which are aimed for patients. So one is the ABC of kidney disease. It talks about treatment options. It's a 20-minute video which talks about treatment options for end-stage kidney disease. So renal nutrition videos, and there are also videos in other native languages for patients of ethnic population. So more posts talking about dialysis, post-renal transplant in simplified 4 or 5 minute videos, which are easy for patients to understand. So Facebook is a rapid and interactive free-form method of communication. It helps to strategically target groups and drive discussion. You can comment, you can like, and you can share content. It allows multimedia, videos, as well as audios. There are several support groups on Facebook for patients with kidney disease. It also posts education content. And there is Facebook Live, which helps interact with the speaker. So a study by Green et al. Showed that the advantages of using Facebook are information sharing, patient-centered management, community building, and data collection function. So it is used in building identity. You can get emotional support, logistic support, and it's easy to access for any sort of information regarding disease management. So this is an example of a Facebook page titled Kidney Blog, which has short topics on common kidney diseases and how to approach. So these are videos on Facebook talking about patient experiences. So there's a patient who has undergone a transplant and how he's the longest surviving kidney transplant. There's a talk on why, what are the causes of kidney transplant failure. So all these small talks help give out information to patients. So there's another patient story on how he had lupus and kidney failure and how he's a patient of kidney donation and now is fit to run marathons. So these motivate other patients with kidney transplant and survivors to take up such endeavors. Podcasts are audio content where education can be delivered through storytelling, a discussion, or an interview. They target a specialized audience. They're flexible, they're versatile. Some of the examples are Curbsiders, Freely Filtered, Channel You Enthusiasm, NKF, and C. Jason. So some of the patient education podcasts are mostly stories of patients about their experiences and their journey. So these are some of the lists. Then coming to Instagram, Instagram is a photo and video sharing network. It can help talk about patient success stories, introduce new doctors, promote events, contributions, fundraising. You can ask questions, and you can also educate patients about procedures and treatments. So this is one of the Instagram posts by Selena Gomez, who's undergone transplant twice. She is a celebrity. So she talks about her journey, her experience, and how she advocates for patients with transplant. So comparing different social media platforms, Facebook is the most commonly and frequently used social media platform by most of the kidney patients and patient groups. It can be widely used for entertaining, and it can dilute the professional utility, but it is a user-friendly platform which can be used for advocacy, and it can enable a wide reach of audience. Instagram is basically for photos and videos, not frequently used by healthcare workers. Twitter is usually used by physician specialists and scientists, less frequently by patients and care partners, but it is now increasing in popularity and can be used for illustrative and education purposes. YouTube is a video predominating platform. It is less effective with non-video based formats, but it has a very huge target audience. And LinkedIn is basically used for professional purposes, including the industry. It is designed for employment and job seeking and networking, not much for patient advocacy. So the benefits of social media usage, it can help patients keep up their appointments, reservations, and reminders. It can help them retrieve their diagnostic results. It can help give out prescription notifications, especially in the elderly who tend to forget. It can provide health information and education to patients. It can answer general questions. It can help disseminate and support and inform, and it can also promote patient advocacy. It can help patient engagement as active participants in their health, leading to a more educated consumer base. It can also help improve participation, autonomy, motivation, perceived self-efficacy, and trust for patients. So the disadvantages of using social media for patients, one is the accessibility, connectivity, and adaptability. So not all patients have access to the internet or social media or gadgets which can show social media. And not all patients are adapted to use social media, especially the elderly. They take time to learn these things. Secondly is the authenticity of the scientific information. All the information that is posted on social media is not peer reviewed. They can just be single patient experiences, they can be opinions, or they may just be false data for whatever reason. The third important thing is social media noise. So you're connected to so many apps on the social media that your phone is already all the time buzzing. You're anxious, you want to check your phone. This causes some sort of a disturbance, and it can also cause an addiction to you. And the fourth one is the patient privacy. A lot of these social media posts put out photos and videos with the patient details, and this can be a breach of the patient privacy, who may not have consented to these kind of videos and audios, and hence can cause legal implications. So conclusion, social media is easily accessible, inexpensive way to gather information, communicate, and share information. It helps patient voice their concern, experience, and thus in community building. It can be an important platform to build patient advocacy. All information on social media is not authentic, so beware of false sources, spammers, and hackers. It is a scope for physician and patient collaboration to bridge knowledge gaps. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kritika. That was an excellent presentation. As you have mentioned that social media has got indispensable role in our lives and our patients' life also. So I would like to invite other members of the panel to ask any questions if they have any.
Thank you, Dr. Kritika, for that excellent talk. It's very clear. And also thank Dr. Teacher Divya, who taught us the ABC of the social media. But I want to know one thing. Is there any peer check on the content of various posts in the various social media? Because you get all kind of things, but particularly in WhatsApp and other things, telling the people to eat this, don't eat that, don't go to the doctor, and all Ayurvedic medicines, etc. Is there any check on this post in the social media?
So most of these social media platforms, especially Twitter and Facebook, are personal pages, ma'am. So it's people who are just posting their opinions and their comments. But certain platforms such as blogs, especially the Renal Fellow Network, which is a large blog, they do have peer reviews. A lot of the nephrologists go through these posts, check for the authenticity of information, the sources, and then only then is it posted on social media. Also now most of the educational tweets have the link of their source, like the journal link or the attributions from where it was taken. So
No, I'm not meaning that for the nephrologists and those things, but for the patients, in general, patients advocacy, when
yes,
they
ma'am.
post so many things
It
for the
is
patients,
difficult to filter out such
is
posts, ma'am.
it filtered out?
It is no, ma'am. It is very difficult to filter out such posts. So I would suggest that these patients follow authentic blogs or authentic posts from organizations such as the ISN or the ASN or the CJSN, which provide authentic information and content.
Thank you. Very nice talk.
Mrs. Vasundhara, you would like to add certain comments? Preeti, you can ask Mrs. Vasundhara to give certain comments. Preeti?
Sure. Are you live? Mr. Sundan, do you want to ask anything else or want to add anything else?
I want to add, in fact, I want to explain the role that advocacy plays on social media. I mean, how we manage our advocacy on social media, how we manage the content. So we as a patient group, we are constantly telling the patient, we give them some suggestions based on our experience. And then the final word is that please go and talk to your doctor. The only thing that we do at the time when the patient approaches or puts a post or asks a question, it is only to comfort, because we are always scared when the creatinine rises and we think that maybe the kidney has been rejected. So the comfort comes in by people saying that, did you have less water? What did you do? Did you eat properly? And stuff like that. Basically, just to make that person talk about his doubts, and then we tell them to go back to the nephrologist. And all the posts that we have are all from what is there from the media. That is, suppose Times of India gives an article of a transplant that has happened and stuff like that, and all the information. In fact, from the Twitter, we take all those infographics and we post it and try to put some little content on the post to tell them to read the article. We are encouraging them to read scientific articles so that they can learn few of them will learn, not all of them will read and learn, but the few intelligent ones, why should we avoid, why should we not offer that information to them? So that is how we look at it. But I wanted to ask Dr. Kritika that on podcast, how much work has been done in India? How many people are using podcast efficiently?
Ma'am, I'm not very sure about the ones that are being used here. Frankly, I don't know any that are being used in India. So, and most of the podcasts that we have are based for nephrologists and not for patient. They're not patient-centered. So I'm not aware of any here.
Maybe request the Women in Nephrology group to try and get some podcasts which are, or even any sessions that you'll do, which are totally patient-centric. Because sometimes we come into these meetings, the information is too advanced for us. and then we leave halfway through the meeting because we feel that how much of knowledge can be gained, which is so heavy and beyond our capacity. So if we can have such sessions, such programs designed to really help us.
Definitely, Vasundhara Raghavan. I think your suggestion is well taken. We are having patient advocacy groups led by the WIN executive team. We'll definitely plan to have certain podcasts. But can you tell us from the patient perspective, which is the best platform, SOMI platform, that can reach effectively patient groups so that they understand? Let it be in vernacular language, let it be the content, let it be any clarification. What can be a better or probably a best platform that can reach to the patient groups?
Facebook is the best.
Okay.
Because Twitter, not many people, though we do community is growing, but Twitter doesn't have that many patients. But Facebook, our page is very active. We can, we can stream live onto our page. We've done that with Nephro Plus before. So
great suggestion. I feel, Mrs. Vasundhara. I mean, I think WIN India will definitely take up that initiative and put it in simple words, easy for the patients to understand. And probably Facebook, as you said, probably we can try that out as well. We've not been very active there, but I think this would be a good opportunity.
What do you think about the YouTube videos that are being posted? I mean, do you feel that they would reach because number of YouTube videos are there, whether it is the information about a disease, whether it's management, whether it's reachability. So a lot of education goes on YouTube as well. Do you think YouTube videos are also equally good in reaching the patients, or is it only the the Facebook which has a better reachability? Over to Vasundhara for this question.
On the YouTube, I will say that Dr. Gulati comes and posts, he'll come and put his YouTube channel, the video, and people will watch. So someone has to bring that and put it here. Whereas from Facebook page, we put it into our groups. But we were not able to do so much work. I mean, we are being volunteers. We don't have so much time to look at all the videos. And there is one dialysis technician or technologist, one Hilal, who's very active in our page, and he has lovely YouTube on dialysis. It's very simple to understand, So people like to watch those things. But, if it is made by the nephrologist also, if it's a combination, then at least we know that it's very authentic, We know that the information is
authentic.
Yeah. We, of course, he's a technologist and he will definitely know. But, we will also have a little doubt that, okay, do we follow this or do we follow the doctors?
So this technician, what you are saying, I just wanted to know, I mean, always to be on the safe side and for you people to be on the safe side, always put the credentials of the person doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Whether he is qualified, whether he has a degree and all that, because nobody should get into any problems. I mean, even if the video is good and done brilliantly, but it should come, as you rightly said, from a technically sound person. So because some people are good speakers, but again, whether they are authorized to say all that and whether they are saying it correctly, that also is important. So I think always put the credentials, that's important. Before posting or reposting any such videos, make sure that the person claims to be who he is, who he claims to be, who he or she.
Sure. Thank you so much for your suggestion.
Ma'am, I have a question for Mrs. Vasundhara Raghavan. Ma'am, how do you filter out these hackers and, spammers on Facebook? How do you know? How do you filter out?
I'm like the cop there.
Yeah.
I admit patients into the group.
Because anybody can impersonate anybody these days.
So we, as soon as they will say that I want, I'm B+ and I need a kidney or I want to sell the kidney, we remove them from the group. But when we are admitting them, we have a set of questions. It also tells, give me your telephone number, give this, give that, all the things. If they don't answer all the questions, they answer only 1 or 2 questions, we don't admit them. So very strictly on that.
I think can we start the next session? Our foreign panelists are waiting.
Yes, please.
This is their morning. Already we are half an hour late.
Yeah, first, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kritika, for throwing light on how to use social media for patients' education. I now request my friend, Dr. Shreyashi Bose, to take the session forward. Over to Dr. Shreyashi.
Hello, good evening, everybody. After these two excellent talks, now it's time to move on to the next exciting segment of this webinar. So we have next, we have the panel discussion, which is on a very pertinent topic, that is the use of social media in organ transplantation. And the panelists for this segment are as follows. We have Dr. Urmila Anand. Ma'am is a very eminent personality on social media. She is the head of nephrology at Amrita Hospital in Faridabad. She is our president of Win India. Next, we have Dr. Sunil Shroff. Sir is well known for his work in the field of disease donor transplantation. He is a senior consultant urologist and kidney transplant surgeon based in Chennai, and is also the founder member of the non-profit organization Mohan Foundation. We also have our two other prominent members, Dr. Sylvie Shah. She is associate professor of clinical internal medicine at University of Cincinnati, and Dr. Anuja Java, associate professor nephrology in Washington University School of Medicine at St. Louis. The moderator for this event is Dr. Sandhya Suresh. She is the assistant professor nephrology at SRMC Chennai. Over to you, Dr. Sandhya Suresh.
Hi, everyone. We've had a great session so far about the role of social media in nephrology. As for want of time, and I have 4 great speakers, so I don't really want to take too much time here. Basically, this session will focus on social media in transplant and how we can leverage it to benefit the transplant community, whether it be us, the transplant professionals, or the transplant candidates, the potential donors, or anyone involved in transplant, from researchers to philanthropists. So we have 4 great speakers here who are not only eminent nephrologists, but who have also taken a leading role in the field of social media and transplantation. Dr. Sunil Shroff, Dr. Sylvie Shah, Dr. Anuja Java, and Dr. Urmila Anand. I'd like to put forth some questions to them, and they will be answering us over the course of this half an hour session.
Can you put it in slideshow mode?
It gives me a lot of pleasure to ask this question to Dr. Shroff, because he's the founder of the Mohan Foundation. For several years, they have been trying to take forward social media. They've been one of the pioneers in social media and transplantation, in increasing organ donation awareness in our country. Sir, what are your thoughts about the role of social media and organ donation awareness? Whom are we targeting, and what do we hope to achieve?
I think, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this webinar. And I wish to congratulate the nephrologists for taking, raising the bar of how on social media. I think among all the specialties, you guys have done the best. So great achievement and great talks. We have been using social media for creating awareness in our nation for many, many years. We have 1,000+, I think, graphic posts on social media regarding awareness on organ donation. And I think it's a great tool for creating awareness for some of these medical, some of these causes, like, organ donation, obviously, but, we have had those viral campaigns of ALS, if you remember, where we had that, ice bucket challenge and so on, which went very viral. On organ donation campaigns also, some of the campaigns have gone viral. You have the Bentley car, which you have seen, which has gone viral again. Then you had the negative kind of depiction of somebody donating an organ. It was not a very good human being, but gave a negative impact, but that story stayed on. So that way in India too, we have had some very good social media campaigns. We had the Hemant Karkare's wife, Kavita, who donated her organs. I think it was in 2014 or 7. I think, Hemant was the, martyr in the, the Bombay blast, which happened, that his wife. So that post went very viral. And then there was a post of Save Aradhana, who wanted, to raise money for organ, for her. She needed a heart, and that campaign went very viral. So I think, we have used social media quite effectively to create awareness on organ donation. Facebook is very powerful, but lately I find Instagram is, equally important, especially among youngsters. We also need to use things like TikTok and so on But TikTok is overtaking Facebook now, and sorry, more YouTube probably for short videos and so on. And social media has really changed. It started all with Facebook, but now today we have so many good platforms for creating awareness on organ donation. And we have to keep ourselves updated with the social media, especially if you want to create awareness on organ donation. You can also have your organ donation status on Facebook. I don't know how many of us use that in India, but we also promote that through our campaigns to create your organ donation status. The target audience is anyone and everyone, to be honest. It's not just restricted to young or old or whatever, male or female or whatever. So the target audience is anyone and everyone. And I think what we hope to achieve at the end is that, there are two things which should happen. One is, in India, there has been a small paradigm shift where we see families coming forward for donation. When you have brain death, when we started the, organ donation, and in that era, you would speak to the relatives, and many times, most of the times, you'd get no. But our, conversion rate has improved regarding organ donation, provided you have a good counselor supporting the family. But the small paradigm shift which you have seen lately in the last 5 years is many donor families have come forward to donate their organs when they hear about brain death. So I think that paradigm shift has been not necessarily, of course, just because of social media, but also because of the awareness which we have created in the print media and the visual medias as well. So I think overall the impact has been good. And what we wish to achieve is that, more and more families can come forward for organ donation at the end of the day, because we need to increase our donation rate. And that's the end point where we see how, different campaigns can help. Thank you.
That is very well put. Do any of the other panelists have any comments? Dr. Silvish, you have you're a pivotal member of the NSMC team, and I would love to hear about your work in social media in the field of transplantation.
So I think social media obviously makes a great difference, both for organ donation as well as patient awareness. And we have used this successfully, especially, I have a lot of interest in women's health and kidney transplant. And we have been using, for example, National Kidney Foundation podcast. We are conducting that regularly, where we have a panel which includes a patient, which I think is very important, along with like a social worker, a physician, and other a nurse in the panel, to bring about awareness, for example, regarding pregnancy, breastfeeding. So we did a podcast, and then we got a feedback from the patient. They wanted to hear more about breastfeeding with kidney transplant, and then we did another podcast for it. So we have used podcasts successfully. Then there is, in the American Society of Transplantation, they have different community of practices as well, where you can post questions and get answers. So that's another good use of social media. And with patients, what I've seen is, even here, I think Facebook is the most commonly used forum for discussions among patients. And that's how they get a lot of awareness and knowledge about complications with kidney transplant, what are some difficulties which they can face with kidney transplant. And they also put donation campaigns, like if somebody needs a kidney, they would advertise, they would put it through social media. Even patients do that, and some of them had success in getting that. And another very recent thing, since we were talking about, one of our transplant nephrologists here donated a kidney to his patient, Dr. Jamali. I'm not sure if you heard about it, but that was very much covered by media. And I think it was great for everybody, like for patients, for physicians, because he successfully donated a kidney to his patient. So that received a lot of media coverage. And there are a lot of other people in the transplant community. There's Dr. Grubbs, who actually donated a kidney to her husband. She's a transplant nephrologist. She's a general nephrologist, and she donated the kidney to her husband. And she also wrote a great book on it. So I think all these examples, which are covered by media, again, increase a lot of awareness in the community.
Dr. Urmila, ma'am, what you have been very active in the social media space, especially in the field of nephrology education. And what do you feel is the difference between social media and traditional media with regards to transplantation?
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I'm really grateful to my colleagues for this webinar. And I think there was a lot of discussion on this in our last Indian Society of Organ Transplant meeting. Things which are done or propagated in a television or in the traditional media, which takes about hours together, usually takes minutes when the point or the issue is discussed in social media. There is a effect on this and it propagates faster. So for transplant professionals, especially putting across our views, both positive and sort of contradicting negative viewpoints and fake news and scammers and hackers, we can use social media. The only discordance is what everybody is talking. We transplant professionals are much more savvy and, in tune with Twitter, which is more of a medical platform, whereas patients discuss their issues in Facebook. So I get this message from everyone during this meeting, and I realize we all should become more popular and use many, videos and posts and blogs or any discussions using Facebook, and as Professor Sunil said, using Instagram. So we can, but I think we need to be careful and decide which platform is good for us. It offers a lot of opportunities, but we may be using not the right platform. But looking at Mohan Foundation and the amount of work they have done, and looking at Madam Vasundhara's Kidney Warriors Foundation, they have created a paradigm shift in how chronic kidney disease care is taken care in India, especially dialysis. And Professor Sunil Shrop's Mohan Foundation in changing the patient and patient relatives' attitude toward deceased donor. So we have a lot of opportunities, but miles to go before we sleep.
True, ma'am.
And yeah, I wanted to add something here if I have the time. If you have the time.
Yeah. Sir, please go ahead, sir. You can. We have all the time, so you can just put your points.
As a transplant professional, WhatsApp is very infamous for misinformation which it spreads, but we have used it very effectively in closed groups. So we have about the kidney transplant surgeons are not that many in the country. So we have a group for the transplant surgeons, and for both we have about 250 members on that group from all over the country, and that has become the first point of contact for people to discuss difficult surgical problems in kidney transplants, whether they have a complication, if they have a difficult case, that's the first point of contact. And then many of the seniors join together to give an answer. So many of the cases which have been done in different hospitals have been discussed in this closed group with proper answers, and that person who is in trouble will come back and tell you what they did and how well it was successful or not. So I found this as a great educational tool. The second thing which I think where it has been a great help, which I've seen, is in collaborative research. When you have a problem, you very immediately say, okay, do you have this problem too? And then you can put a collaborative research item together. So, as a transplant professional, social media there has been extremely useful. Then we have another group for transplants where we have a very high level of people who are from different, the bureaucrats are there, the doctors, senior doctors are there, the, people from NOTO are there, where we discuss the regulatory issues required to help ease the pain points in donation and transplantation. And that is again very effective for policy decisions. So you can use it, you can mold the social media to your requirement and use it very effectively to actually do some, change the thought process, or to help somebody who is in a difficult situation to come out of it when, especially in transplant field. That's been my, I think that's the best use from, one of the best uses. Of course, there are many, because, when you look at Twitter, if you want any information, the quickest it travels through Twitter. I mean, if there is something which, is published somewhere, immediately you see it on Twitter. And if you have a hashtag, you subscribe to those, hashtags. And if you're subscribed to those areas, where the feeds, you'll get the information almost immediately. Sorry, thank you.
Very rightly said, sir. I'd like to bring Dr. Anuja in. Ma'am, do you think it is possible to also integrate traditional media with social media?
Hi, Sandhya. I think before I start, I have to say it has been an absolutely wonderful morning. The talks by Divya and Kritika were amazing. And I think both of them covered a lot of content that I think we'll just be talking more, kind of delving more into. So no, I definitely think that you could mix and mingle social, the traditional medias and social media. And I think that is definitely the right way to do it. I do, however, think, as Dr. Urmila mentioned earlier, is that, social media does have those advantages of this broader reach, of being able to kind of, reach out to a bigger public that traditional media does not. So I think traditional media has its own pros, but if we are really looking for advocacy awareness in the topic that we're talking about in terms of transplant, I do think social media has kind of a little bit of an edge over traditional media. And you've seen, again, as Dr. Shroff also mentioned, the collaboration, the networking, the research that can happen from social media, I think happens in a way more impactful manner than traditional media. But at the end of the day, I think, again, like all of us mentioned, utilizing the best of all of them is the way to go. I don't think you can kind of really go after one thing and make it the be all and end all. So I think mixing and matching is definitely helpful. I just see more advantages of social media over traditional media.
I think that's what Dr. Shroff did last year when he appeared on Kaun Banega Crorepati. Sir, what was the response to your appearance in that? Did it really reach a lot of people?
You have something like Facebook effect, when Facebook, put the organ donor thing, you had a lot of registration. Same way when I came on this KBC, we do have a toll-free helpline in Mon Foundation. And believe me, it never stopped ringing for the next 5 days. We must have answered close to, 20,000 calls in the time on the toll-free helpline number. It just kept ringing. And, it did make an impact, many queries, many questions, many people wanting to donate. One other advantage which we had, which people don't realize, the money, of course, we earned, which we got on the Kaun Banega Crorepati, we made some money, and of course, obviously donated to the foundation. But there was another effect afterwards. We got a lot of donations from people. That was not expected. We knew that there will be a lot of calls and a lot of awareness. But financially, we did get some donations as well from well-meaning people for the cause, which was very gratifying to me personally. Because when we won 25 lakhs, but it took us 1 year to get the 25 lakhs from the Sony guys. It takes forever. But we didn't give us 25 lakhs. We only got 16 or 17 lakhs. But we got more donations. Like I can't remember, maybe about 15, 20 lakhs immediately after I appeared on KBC. And that was very gratifying too. So I think it was good. It was all very good for us.
That's very nice to hear, sir. I'd love to hear it from a patient's perspective. Dr. Sylvie, have you spoken to any of your patients about how they are using social media?
So I have spoken to patients, and I think most of them have been using Facebook, and they have these closed patient forums on Facebook where all the transplant patients can participate, and they use it for like asking any sort of questions, any doubts they have, any complications with the kidney transplant, and having support groups as well. So that has been what my patients tell me that's the most commonly used forum. Some are on Twitter, but not a lot of patients. It's mostly patient advocate, like we have a lot of patient organizations here. So patients who are leading those organizations are on Twitter, but not a lot of them. So most commonly it is Facebook, I would say, what I have seen in my patients, that they use social media.
I found this interesting to read that because in the US there is altruistic donation. People do solicit for organs through social media.
That's right. Yeah, so you can use social media to ask for, let people aware that you need an organ. You can use Twitter, even like in front of their houses, like they can put signs. Like in my community, I see a sign in one of my neighborhoods where they need a kidney. So they put a sign in the yard as well. So they can send emails, like everything is allowed. Because altruistic donation is not discouraged, it's actually encouraged. Living donation is encouraged. So whether it's related or unrelated. So that's very commonly seen. And a lot of patients use the social media very effectively to advocate for themselves, or patients' relatives can use, or patients' friends use. Sometimes patients, medical team may use. So that's very commonly seen.
Dr. Unmalaman, do you think our patients use the social media and transplantation in this way? And in our country, the unrelated donation is discouraged. So how would this work? Dr. Urmila, I think ma'am's not available.
Urmila is muted.
Yeah. I think this is an area where we are not as progressive or as as in United States, where, as they said, altruistic donation is encouraged, and not just social media. When I was in Toronto, we had seen this in churches. I mean, notices put up in boards in places of worship also. But in India, rarely I have seen social media being used for soliciting organs. Traditional media, there have been some rare instances where people have asked for kidneys or other organs. But I think this is a very slippery slope in our country. Using social media for soliciting or asking for organs is not allowed. And I think advertising for organs, our law does not allow. We do encourage altruistic donation, but there is a very thin line between altruistic and commercial donation in our country, where the economic disparities are very, very vast. So I'm not too sure. I will have others' opinion that whether we should encourage or whether we should be thinking of using social media for encouraging individual personal organ donation. Others can say, I'm sure Dr. Shroff can say a few words on this.
Just before Dr. Shroff comments, I just wanted to clarify from Dr. Sylvie. You talked about this altruistic donation and unrelated donations. So is that commercial or it's all altruistic? I mean, is there any money involved in unrelated donations? Just out of curiosity, I'm asking.
No, there is no money involved. It's all altruistic.
So, yeah, I want to say that, it's quite a topic to be discussed, to be honest. There are some ethical concerns here, when you talk about these directed donations and, altruistic donations. You may have heard of beauty contests on Facebook, in the sense that, where, you have somebody who projects the best side of their story, writes it very professionally for when they ask for organs, and that may not be the true side at all. And that also puts a lot of emotional pressure on friends and, other people who are reading their posts. So to some extent, there is coercion. And this needs to be, I think is we don't have time to really discuss this. This can be a talk, this can be a discussion on social media by itself. So there are ethical concerns, although I know that there is a position statement by the American, I'm not sure, which society, which encourages such kind of donations. Whereas, these kind of requests we think should go through the hospital. If there is a request for some kind of altruistic donation, then if it goes through a hospital, it's better than going through a patient themselves. That's But there is another ugly side to it, and I agree with Urmila that it's a very slippery slope. I don't know if you guys have heard of living donor cards. The exploitation on social media in India is huge. And what has happened is there are some these middle brokers who are advertising, calling it a living donor card, by which they will contact you. They will ask you for a fees, could be what, 25,000 rupees, 30,000 rupees, and then they'll issue a card. And what they promise that person is that by having the card, you can go and donate your kidney for money anywhere. And what we have had these situations where they have duplicated our own donor card, put Mon Foundation logo on that, and somebody has contacted us on our helpline that I have a living donor card. Where do I go to donate my kidney so I can get the money? In fact, we have lodged complaints repeatedly with the cybercrime people to stop this practice happening. We have also, and these kind of advertisements comes on also Facebook, by the way. On Facebook, you'll have suddenly a write-up saying that in Apollo hospitals, a very famous doctor is looking for a kidney and willing to pay so much of money for a patient. In fact, we have written to Facebook many times showing this post to filter these posts and not let this post appear. So as Urmila said, very slippery slope in India, where there's so much of commercial exploitation on these issues of living donation. So we have to be really, really careful before we take altruistic donation forward through social media in India. Even in US, there are concerns for that matter. As I said, this is an issue which needs to be discussed separately in a different forum. We cannot cover everything here.
I agree. I will add one more point to the altruistic donation in the US, though, is that we actually do encourage it during our clinic visits. When we see patients for evaluation, we actually tell them that if you want to, go ahead and look for a living donor, go ahead and do that. We actually encourage them to post on social media, reach out to their churches, friends, families. In fact, my experience has been that patients are hesitant in asking for a kidney from their families and friends. And so what we've been trained to tell them is that when you go ask for a kidney, don't tell them you are asking for a kidney. You tell them that you saw your kidney doctor today and they wanted you to talk to people that you're in kidney failure and you're looking for a kidney. I encourage my patients to put those placards outside their homes, in their cars. In fact, the National Kidney Foundation has this big campaign called the Big Ask, Big Give, where they are actually helping with looking for donors. So it's a very, I think it's different here, but so far, thankfully, I've not heard of the downsides and pitfalls of this yet, and it's kind of being encouraged quite a bit.
I think we're all learning in this, it's evolving. And we go through these phases where, it is a little dangerous, and then we learn, and then we improve, and that's good. And I think, we do see these billboards in US where there's somebody's asking for a kidney. And I like this Anuja's idea of making it a third party kind of situation. That's why I said that going through hospitals or clinics is better than going personally and asking for an organ. That maybe have more appeal. Even in India, we have altruistic donation. In fact, we get calls on our helpline where people say we don't want money. We want to donate out of just love. But we are worried, in India. I have a gynecologist in Bangalore who desperately wants to donate. And she can't go ahead. She has been rejected by the committee many times. And I know that she's genuine. She's genuinely altruistic. And believe me, in India, we do have such people who wish to donate. But the mechanism in India is lacking. And we are scared that they should not be misled.
And I would like to add as well, one of the reasons why altruistic donation is so successful here is because the transplant process is tightly regulated by UNOS. So everything has to be through proper channels, and your center can lose license. It's not licensed, but it has to be approved to do a transplant, and it has to satisfy certain metrics. So it's very tightly regulated. So that's why altruistic donation is so popular. And, as you were talking, like there's no commercialization and it's a very slippery slope. But I think a central regulation may definitely help in making the process more streamlined. And that's what it is here. There are a lot of laws which are associated, and the whole process is tightly regulated. So even when we encourage patients, well, if you get a living donor, you're going to get transplant sooner than being on waiting list, which is usually 2 to 3 years or more, depending on where you're getting the transplant. So that's one very encouraging thing for patients. And secondly, the other advantage is even if you're rejected by one center as a living donor, you can get your evaluation at another center. So it's not like, one center rejects you and you cannot be a donor. You can go to 5 different centers. And actually, me and Dr. We have we're just talking. We do have a WhatsApp group of transplant professionals of Indian origin, and Dr. Jav and me are part of it. And that's what we had discussed. Like, if one of our colleagues was like, "Well, my donor got rejected. Can they get evaluated at another center?" And I'm like, "Yes, you can." So that's another advantage. But I think the laws and the central process makes the process more streamlined here.
I think what you Americans are telling us is that it's a soliciting an altruistic, non-directed organ donation is safer. Unfortunately, there is nothing called non-directed organ donation in India. It's almost directed. And even in living related organ donation in India, it is rarely altruistic. So we also have lots of checks and balances, but still some kind of malpractice creeps in. So this is our concern in our country. So you will see this, and Professor Sunil will agree with us that even if it's altruistic, the economic disparities are too much between the donor and the recipient. In your part of the world, the economic differences between the donor and the recipient is not that much. It's very narrow. So,
interesting perspectives on this, how different countries view it. And now we can just move to the next topic, which is actually the pitfalls, which is what we were discussing, I think. Ma'am, what do you think are the pitfalls when both transplant professionals or patients use social media and transplantation?
we have, I think, discussed this a lot because time is little less. We're almost 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Pitfalls are the same: hackers, spammers, misinformation, soliciting for donor. And there have been many issues with in our country, at least. A simple social media post or a WhatsApp post have actually brought a successful South Indian deceased donor organ transplant program to its knees. So social media can elevate a program, but just by some amount of misinformation and wrong attitudes can bring it down. And like, as we have an initiative in Indian Society of Organ Transplantation, I think all professional bodies and verified bodies should peer review whatever posts come as far as organ donation is concerned. And closed groups are much more important than sort of, disseminating information throughout. I think take others' opinions, Sandhya, and then.
So what do you think about the ethical and the legal framework, Dr. Anuja? What do you feel about it around social media?
You're not audible. Sorry.
Was that question for me, Sandhya?
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
What do you think about the ethical and the legal framework around the use of social media and transplantation?
Right. No, I think that's I think one of the major, pitfalls of social media, because I think there is no, when you're on social media, there is no barrier. There are these privacy concerns. I have seen patients and even physicians, unfortunate to say that, and I think it was brought up earlier, posting a lot of private information about their patients. I mean, even if the picture is not there, there is so much detail in the medical history. There is enough information that if anybody wanted to go back and figure out that this is the patient, they could. Same thing for the patient. Sometimes they kind of post a lot about their medical histories, their financial burdens, what they're going through. I think that privacy link somewhere between private and social has kind of dissipated. That is an issue. And then I think the other ethical pitfall, particularly pertaining to like India and other countries, like we talked about, that if you're going to post that you're needing something on social media, that's going to bring in this tourism, the commercialization, the money that gets involved, the selling and the buying of the kidneys. I think that's a big problem. And of course, the misinformation that goes out there. There is no control over who is going to post what. There is no regulation. And that is a big problem for patients because they don't know how to tease through all that information that is out there and what they should take and what they should leave. So I think, those are major issues that kind of I can think of in terms of, issues, ethical issues and pitfalls.
And I also want to add that, the telemedicine guidelines, which Government of India has published in 2019, after the pandemic started, includes the social media usage and how to use by doctors. I don't know if you guys are aware, very clearly placed down, the guidelines placed down what to share and what not to share. And the the Personal Data Privacy Act, which is around the corner, which should come into force anytime, will also have laws related to social media usage.
Are there any laws in the US, Dr. Silvi, about, or at least any policies from professional bodies?
So there are very strict laws, especially for physicians. We have this HIPAA training. Every institute has it, and you really cannot post patient information on social media. If you do, there are strict laws, like you can even be terminated from your job. So those laws are there. So you have to be very careful in posting any patient information or anything which may reveal the identity of a patient, like posting a picture or posting some surgery picture or posting, there was a picture which was shown by, I think, Dr. Divya regarding the urology physician. So if we do that and they identify, you can be terminated and you have to complete this HIPAA training every year for that as well. So that law is there. It's mostly for medical professionals, I would say. For patients, there are no laws, but I think misinformation is the main drawback of social media for patients.
We do actually have the lawyer team from our hospital come and give talks to all different departments about what is okay and what is not okay, and it's very, very strict. So yeah, the people who are actually going for the lawsuits when physicians post something unusual, they've brought real life cases of how this affected. So we actually have a yearly session on that.
One thing which we need to have is a position statement from each society. In Americans do have some position statements from the Transplant Society. We don't have one in India. And that'd be good for the professionals. At least they can read the statement, but they may not go to the guidelines of the country. Sometimes they're ignorant for that. They may not be aware. But as a society, we can put a position statement or a white paper together and distribute it around so that there is clarity on certain issues related to social media and how it can be used.
As a last question, social media and research, how they complement each other. Can social media boost research, and what research do we need on the use of social media in transplantation? Dr. Anuja, would you like to answer this question?
Right. I think in terms of how social media can or does it boost or aid research, most definitely, and I think I alluded to this a little bit earlier, is that, and in the question that you brought up someday earlier, how that differs from traditional media. So, the research world is not limited to conferences and it's not limited to, small limited webinars. I think with social media, people are sharing their work. People are sharing questions that they may have. It's leading to collaborations that's leading to more research. So I think it's given a big boost in the research field. In terms of the research and the use of social media, I definitely think that is somewhere we are lacking. I think we've all of us have gone all in without really getting the objective feedback on how this is affected. I think as Dr. Shroff and Dr. Urmila mentioned, having the organizations, the professional ASN, AST, NKF kind of getting involved to see how, how social media has actually impacted. Has it really changed the world of transplant? How many more donors have come forward? What has really happened? So I think that research is needed. We talk about this, but we don't have objective data to show that these are the numbers, these are the pros, these are the cons. So that research, I think something that the professional organizations can really undertake is important. But it definitely, it has, you see what we do on Twitter, the NFJCs and all of that, that's all sharing, and that just propels the research 20-fold forward than it was if we were just presenting, in front of an audience of 20, 50 people.
I think we asked Dr. Sylvie Sa to say, because both of you are mentors for students, and I'm sure Divya and all have learned a lot from NSMC, and they have their research ideas and collaborations have been boosted or encouraged by social media. I'm sure having you both in this platform, or speakers or thought leaders or opinion leaders with niche areas of research, have made a difference. And all this, at least in Women in Nephrology, we have youngsters who are coming up with research ideas, being encouraged, being inspired by, talks and webinars and social media posts, articles coming out, and they get their own research questions. They learn how to frame their research methodologies, and many of them are collaborating and working together.
Definitely. I will say, like the Women in Nephrology here, we actually started this national mentor-mentee program. We've just launched it. And one of the, and we divided that kind of program into whether you're interested in research, whether you're interested in education. So we've kind of divided that, where if there are people, and this is national, but we've gotten responses from even international candidates. So, and this has all happened because, we're out there, we're spreading the word. And let Sylvie go ahead and say more to that as well.
No, I agree. I think for me and my experience, social media has been great for research collaborations. I met a lot of people through social media, through Twitter. Dr. Divya, I met her, and we have collaborated on certain projects. Me and Dr. Preeti Meena wrote an article for AS and Kidney News, and that's how we met through social media. I've met medical students actually who have reached out to me, not from my institute, but from other, from Texas, who actually reached out to me. They wanted to work on a project, and that's how. We met through Twitter. So I think a lot of my collaborations, like especially in Canada, India, have been through social media, and it has been a great resource. I think especially it has such a wide reach. It is quick. I think it's quicker, communication. It's a quick communication as well. So that's very effective and useful. And I think regarding research and use of social media, there have been a couple of few steps which have been taken, and a few articles have been published. But more work needs to be done on use of social media and transplantation for sure. So yes, we definitely need statements from different societies, as it has been brought by other panelists.
So just if I can add a sentence here, so I fully agree and endorse what everyone is saying. So only thing I would request the students on this webinar, the message what needs to go across is, we should learn from all the tools. Social media is a big tool. I'm all for it. But only thing what we should not do is that, madam, I read about that study. I saw that study. I saw a visual abstract on social media. If you are asked about some trial, we should have knowledge about the trial. Just not say that visual abstract I saw on the social media. Yes, I'm aware of that. But what was there in that, they don't understand. So this should never happen. We should learn from all the tools. We should try to gain knowledge. Social media, the Twitter, the host of information, everything available is for us to understand the subject. So as Divya rightly pointed out in her lecture, finally, again, these are all avenues to learn what's going on around you in the world, what's come up, what's recent, what's hot, what's not. But finally, one's understanding about that is important. And we should not put all the time in social media. It should have some time in your life, some place in your life, some day or some week or some hour of the day. But try to understand what it's being talked to you on social media. It's an avenue for understanding what's going on. And it's not the end all and be all. So while I'm all for social media, I guess finally, we should use it to learn the subject, to understand the subject and further knowledge. Thank you.
Very perfectly put forth, ma'am. Actually, that was going to be my next question, is the last question. And what is your one line of caution and one tip for a young transplant professional who's looking to enter into social media, nephrology social media? Dr. Shroff,
I would suggest that they learn how to use Twitter. I personally feel Twitter is one of the most powerful platforms. I think Facebook is a waste of time, according to me, I'm sorry. But if you have to learn one platform for professionally to be in touch with what is happening in the world in your field of work, it should be Twitter. They should all be told how to, given a proper training on Twitter, how to use Twitter. But Twitter is just not about 280 characters. There's so much on Twitter happening. It's like, you know, you can connect to anybody in the world, like a big cocktail party, anywhere in the world, you can connect to Twitter. And also, you know, the Twitter, you know, there are things like, you know, lists on Twitter and so on. So you can, you know, filter your Twitter in such a way that if you want to spend just, let's say, half an hour on social media, you can do it through Twitter. You can't do it through other social media platforms. So you can restrict your usage of Twitter by just filtering certain information which you want to do. So that would be my one advice on social media. One other thing which I would also want to address, especially for India, for patients, which we have used very effectively as an NGO, is crowdfunding through social media. It's a huge area and patients really get benefited. I was speaking to Milap, you know, the person who founded Milap, Anuj, and I asked him, how much have you raised on social media for transplants? And you'll be surprised to know that in the last 7 years, they've raised 800 crore rupees for transplant patients, help them to, you know, because most of our transplants happen in, you know, private hospitals and this is expensive. So they have raised, Milap alone has raised 800 crores for transplant patients. And then is keto as well. So that's another great benefit of social media, especially in India. Thank you.
Ma'am, your last comments, Dr. Urmila.
Yeah, if you really want to get your feet wet, learn how to swim, go the whole hog. But before you start, get used to it, familiarize yourself with social media. And I think, as Professor Sunil says, Twitter is the handle that we all professionals should become comfortable with.
Dr. Sylvie, your comments?
Yeah, I think I agree with all the comments made by the panelists. And one advice is just go with an open mind and keep your professional and personal life different. And whenever you post, there's a lot of responsibility in posting. So make sure it's safe, it's respectful, it's true, and it's not offensive. And if you have to explore one medium, I would say stick with Twitter, just because it has a lot of, it's more authentic. It has more professional networking, more knowledge and more access. So I agree with Dr. Shroff and Dr. Urmilan, and like that's one medium to explore and start with for young professionals.
Dr. Anuja, ma'am, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, definitely agree with everything that's been said before. Divya actually really beautifully pointed this out earlier, you know, go slow, kind of, and like Dr. Urmila said, get your feet wet, understand what this is. Couple other things I want to add is, and I think Divya mentioned it, be very intentional in who you're following, because remember, there is an anchor bias. If you're only going to be seeing people who you follow, and you're going to only, that is the view you're going to get. So you should be intentional in trying to follow people who match your views and those who don't match your views, so that you get a good mix of understanding of what is happening. And I always say this, you know, respond, don't react. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen. Disengage if you don't think something is okay. But, you know, you have that ability. You don't, you know, so just, you know, those are some of the things. And be professional always, and be yourself. You don't have to be somebody else to be on social media.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all the panelists and for the entire session. I think you've broadened our horizons and shown us that social media is more than just posting vacation pictures on Facebook or sports banter on Twitter, and that we can compress the entire worldwide nephrology community into a small network where we can engage with each other and educate ourselves and others around us, and really look beyond our four walls. So thank you, everyone. I'll defer to the organizers and the MCs for the rest of the session.
Happy Diwali to all of you.
Happy
Thank
Diwali.
you.
Happy Diwali.
Yeah, happy Diwali. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Anuja.
so
Thank
much.
you, Sylvie.
Thank you. Great seeing
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Dr. Subhashri, can you just request Dr. Swanlata to give the closing comments? Okay, Swanlata, closing comments.
Yeah, I think she has forgotten. So I
Ah.
think it was a very great session. So I mean, a very unique topic, and it was well selected, and the speakers and then the chairperson. It was aptly designed. It's a need of the hour, has been suggested by one of the chairperson. I think it's a new tool for the learning platform, particularly scientific program. So it all started with, as Maitri said, as an emergency communication, but it has grown to evolve into the entertainment, and now it has come to a scientific tool. Particularly, it's a small platform where we can share our knowledge, gain our knowledge. So particularly, it has gained a lot of momentum after this COVID time, where we are trying to connect digitally. So as has been said by Divya, it has given opportunity to youngsters. And in fact, they have become mentors in various platforms, and where the seniors have become students and learning from them. So, I mean, without this platform, I think it wouldn't have happened. The juniors getting so many opportunities, and then the hierarchy has been flattened, as she has emphasized. And we have a lot of platforms for the learning, the virtual platforms for learning, the structures program. She has enlightened very beautifully. And coming to the patients platform, I think even social media is playing a lot of importance in getting the knowledge, getting the networking, and getting the right information and connecting to their doctor whom they deserve. And of course, appropriate information through the YouTube channels and so on and so forth. And we had a very excellent panelists who have discussed extensively on how to use the social media platform for the organ transplantation. I think I would agree with Dr. Urmila and Dr. Sulesh that in India, though we have used this platform for creating an awareness amongst the public, but using it for soliciting a donor, it is still illegal. And being into an organ donation and transplantation organization, all the social media messages are being diverted to us, though it is illegal. And in fact, I would like to share one story where one of the students, standing on the top of the bridge, and he called us saying that he would like to commit a suicide by falling, into the river. But before that, I would like to express my wish to donate organs. And please, come here and collect my organs. We try to engage him and, find out where he is standing and, the address, and we try to connect the police, and then given the information, and we could, save that boy. So that's how the social media platform being used, other way around in protecting people as well through, such situations. That's what one of the experiences. And I think it was a very wonderful session. I would like to thank everybody for enlightening all of us. I'm not very social media savvy, but I am trying to learn. I think this is a very wonderful platform for all of people like us to learn most effectively. And ultimately, I'd like to say that that Manisha has already highlighted that we should use it most effectively and optimally. It showed me like, we are trying to have the information, but we don't have a depth of the knowledge. Always the conventional learning, should always go back to the conventional learning. It should be something like, add-on or value addition to the conventional learning, or synergistic to what the conventional learning, it's there. And it's not like replacing a real world and living in a virtual one. It should be an act of balancing the use of social media in upgrading ourselves or making us more knowledgeable and more staying together. Thank you. Thank you for over to the organizers, please.
Thank you, everybody. We had a wonderful, a thoroughly enjoyable session today. And we as youngsters learned so many different facets of social media usage. I thank all the seniors, all speakers. And I hope we meet again soon in some other Win India venture. And before we all sign off, a happy Diwali to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Good night.